You have questions? We have answers. Welcome to the Therapist Question Box with your host, Miss Lindsay Schiss.
Welcome back to another episode of the Therapist Question Box, where we are not afraid of anything, so ask away. Today I have with me Kim Millett, therapist at Therapy Utah. She's an LCSW, and she really is our in-house relationship expert. So super happy to have her here with us. Today we're going to be discussing validation, but not just validation, but really how we validate a partner when you have a different experience or perspective, which, Kim, I would imagine is happening all the time. I shouldn't say I would imagine. I'm in a partnership. It does happen all the time.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you being here. And let's just dive right into the question. I think it will help direct our discussion. So our listener question is from Emily. Emily said this: my spouse and I recently had a disagreement about a significant issue, and we have very different perspectives on it. I really want to validate his feelings and show that I understand where he's coming from, but I'm not sure how to do it effectively without feeling like I'm dismissing my own point of view. How can I balance validating his experience while still being true to my own perspective? Again, I think a lot of us have had this question, have felt this many times. So go ahead, have at it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I want to say, as you read that, it's like that's going to be ongoing it's a practice that you're always doing. Like, even if you do it well in one circumstance, it may come up again. And so it's something that you're always going to be navigating in truth for your whole marriage. And I want to talk about a little bit. When you get married, you become a two-person system. You're no longer a one-person system, and that takes time to figure out how to do that well. And it's supposed to take time, right? It is a process. And I always use my hands and I say, now you're in a two-person system, and you can't give up yourself and you can't give up the other person. And this is daily. This is in every conversation. This is with, every, thing that the specific thing she's talking about. But it's trickier than you think. And when I think of, let me just do words for like a two-person system, that looks like negotiation, cooperation, clarification, because I don't know what's in your head and what's in mine, respectfulness, right? Hesitation before moving forward on things, communication, listening, reassuring your partner, teamwork. It's you two against the world. So if you're operating well in this system, I think curiosity is probably your best tool. Curiosity about what's going on with yourself and what's going on with the other person. Because in this two-person system, it's kind of like you don't want to go one person, which one person looks like forgetting my own truths. So you have to be good at that curiosity and saying, what can I not give up? Because it would just feel so not okay, right?
There's so many things to balance here as you're saying that. I mean, right. I'm thinking like, I've got to remember I've got to get curious about my own experience. I'm trying to get curious about their experience. I'm trying to use all these other skills, right? Listening and understanding. And like, that is not an easy thing to do. And it's probably why this is a difficult concept, because it takes a lot of skill.
It does. And it takes some self-acceptance. Like, how are you more likely to go one person? Are you likely to, I always compare it to a bench, and there needs to be room for both people to sit on the bench. Do you take too much room on the bench because you require more, what your feelings, what you want is more important, and you may even do little manipulative things to do that? That's probably more me. And or are you the person to just give up and think, hey, I just have to do everything they tell me, or else they won't be happy with me, and I can't handle that either. And so then I don't show up with what's really important to me. So you have to get really like, where are you? Because we're on one side or the other probably, and maybe a little bit of both, but that's how you get curious to self-confront. Am I taking up too much space? Am I giving them too much space? And yeah. So
that analogy of the bench is so good. I can really visualize that. Okay, how much space am I taking on this bench and how much am I giving, or how much are they taking and how much are they giving? Like that is a really good visual for me to think about in my own relationship. How much am I taking on this bench and how much is he taking on this bench, and where do I need to make some adjustments? It also makes me think about just how much do I trust that if I give a little bit up on that bench, that he's not going to take the whole thing, right? I think sometimes there's a fear of that too. Maybe staying in curiosity, but then like, is he going to take the rest of the bench, and can I even trust that?
And it actually comes to trusting yourself. Will I be okay to stand up for myself if he does? And can I do that in a two-person way, which is respectful? So another way, whenever somebody is critical, or they get reactive and angry, that's another way of being one person, because it kind of feels good. I call it to be indulgent, to indulge that anger. We, as a couple, we want to be two-person, which is really equal power in the relationship. And when one person gets angry or critical, it's like they're taking a spot above, and it feels good, but it's a one person feels good, right? And so you have to slow things down and figure out, if someone is taking too much space, how am I going to bring this up so that so I don't take a power over position kind of a thing. And then Gottman always talks about how, and I can't remember the percentage, it's like 83, 87, 67, it's high, but like most of our issues really aren't solvable.
I know, is that discouraging or what? I don't know if that's like, okay, everyone's in the same boat, we're not going to solve it, right? I don't know. I've heard that same statistic.
Yes, and we could look it up, right? But the idea is, so what is solving it? It's showing that you value your person's perspective, right? It's not that whatever that they're talking about is valuable. It matters because it's not the content of the perspective, right? It's the person that you're married to is valuable. And so we need to value whatever's coming, whatever they're talking about, really, whatever they feel. Kelly, shout out to Kelly who works with us. She shared this fun quote, and she's talking about kids, but I'm going to read it once, just how the quote is, and then substitute it for couples. But it says, in family therapy, we work on fostering empathy for children's stories instead of disputing them. We recognize that arguing isn't productive and that one person's perspective is their reality. Healthy communication starts with empathy for that reality. From there, family therapy can help parents and children rebuild a shared narrative together. So I know that's a lot. That's why I don't mind repeating it and saying, in couples therapy, we work on fostering empathy for couples' stories instead of disputing them. We recognize that arguing isn't productive and that one person's perception is their reality. Healthy communication starts with empathy for that reality. And from there, couples can help rebuild a shared narrative together. So that's how you start. You start with, don't start solving any problems, right? Start with, hey, I call it, you really have to separate your experiences. And you can even say this. You could even say, hey, can we separate our experiences for a second here? Because I think we really have two important experiences, but we're not going to be able to talk about them in a good way without separating them and kind of taking turns and both of us trying to care. So cute Kelly said in this training we were talking, she's like, I say, if your kid says the sky is orange, then say, tell me more about that. Instead of disputing that the sky is blue. And that's what we do in couples. We try and say, no, you're wrong. I know you're wrong, right? Instead of just tell me more, because somehow it makes sense.
And I will tell you, I think the reason why the sky is orange discussion and we really know it's blue is difficult is because it's really personal when you're in a couple. it often is about you that they're having this perception that's their reality. And it feels really crummy to know that this is maybe their perception of what you said or what happened. It's really hard. But when you said empathy for that reality, like, how do I stay in empathy and curiosity and not get all emotionally charged? Because if it is personal, that feels so difficult.
I think two things come into play. And we're kind of doing this, like, nobody can stand feeling judged. We just are too fragile of human beings to be able to handle it. So if your energy is like judging, you're wrong, right? That's going to be felt. And you could say the perfect thing, but if that's felt, there's no empathy, right? And that becomes important. In family therapy, we really try and teach the skill of empathy, but you could say all the right words and not have that caring energy behind it, and it won't be great. So remembering that what you're doing in discussions always is showing that you value your partner. Showing that you value your partner. It's not about the content. It's not about, you'll figure that out in the end. So slow things down. You also have to be okay to make a mistake. Right? In pack therapy, we call it, he calls it, like, I have to be okay that my partner needs to protect themselves from me, because I will get selfish. I will get manipulative. I will get one person. And I have to be okay that that's what humans do. Right? If I'm not okay to make a mistake, because suddenly that means I'm not capable or I'm not valued, then every time my partner has feelings, I'm going to be defensive about that and try and make it about them, right? But if I'm perfectly okay to make a mistake or to be kind of one person sometimes, and that to be curiously pointed out to me, then I'm going to be in better shape.
Okay, so what if I'm okay to make a mistake, but I don't feel safe to make a mistake? I feel like if I make a mistake, my partner's going to fillet me like a fish. Like, oh, yeah, I now, and because we're in this heated discussion. So what do you do about that?
We needed to back off and really have a discussion around this space. We call it the couple bubble.
Can you explain to our listeners what the couple bubble is?
There's only two people in the couple bubble. And when people say bubble, it's like, oh, you guys live in a bubble. You don't know what's going on around you. And we say this in a good way. You're the only two people in the bubble. It doesn't matter how other people do it. It doesn't matter. But that, I call it the energy. When we say fish are in water, right? Or in our air, like we don't notice the air around us, but we sure do notice the air around us, don't we? If that air feels like you're going to get filleted like a fish, that's not safe air, right? It really isn't safe air that's in your bubble. And so we need to deal with that and say, hey, we do have to be able to talk about difficult things and do it safely. There's nothing wrong with you and nothing wrong with me. So as couples, we can really go that more important than the issue is that air in the bubble. It has to feel like good energy. It has to feel like I've got you, you've got me. Like the issue isn't important. I'm not going to drop you. So once you even talk about the issue and you're not solving it, you just are still in caring mode about you're looking for pain points. Let me give you an example. I had a couple and they were buying a car. Well, they had to buy a car first because the car broke down. So they were in more of a desperate situation. And one person wanted to take more time because buying a new car felt like a lot, felt stressful, felt like a big decision. And the other person wanted it in a hurry because of the inconvenience and everything. Well, they're going to solve the problem, right? All couples are going to figure out how to get that car, but you're going to do it in the insecure way or the secure way, right? The insecure way is you're going to criticize, you're going to get upset, you're going to, do that whole thing and get your car, right? And the secure way is you're going to say, hey, I really care about the inconvenience. And the other person is going to say, well, I don't want you to have to make the decision too quickly. I get that that's big for you, right? Spending a bunch of money is really big for you. I care about that, right? I want you to take the time, right? And so the discussion about pain points and how much we really care about that. And then maybe we rent a car for a couple of weeks to get the other person the time, whatever we have to do. But if we did that securely, whether you're an insecure couple or secure couple, you're going to get the car because eventually you have to do it. Are you going to do it in the secure way where you don't pop the bubble, so to speak, or are you going to do it in the insecure way because you can't take care of that little anxiety that's inside? I can't live with the possible discomfort of, possibly this taking forever, or I can't live with the discomfort of, maybe my wife being so upset about this taking forever and me not being able to move forward with such a big decision, right? So then I push myself into a one-person strategies instead of slowing down and being able to kind of self-soothe and use those words we were talking about of teamwork, showing care, a reassurance, and through the process.
So good. The idea of safety, it's like a secure versus an insecure. You're still going to get the car. It's still going to happen, but there's two totally different routes of getting to that car. And what I'm hearing is like, okay, if I'm considering, yes, my own perspective, but also my partner's perspective, and my partner's doing the same thing, looking for pain points, and we're going to be able to maintain that couple bubble, and we're going to be able to move forward in a way that feels safe. And I would imagine all of those experiences, if we can do it like that, will help build safety and trust. So then I know next time, you know what? I look at my own needs, but I also care about my partners, and they do the same thing for me. So I now start feeling more safe to do that. So that makes a lot of sense. One of the things go ahead.
I was going to say, just let me give you a little skill, because if you have patterns, and they are what they are, if you've had patterns where you've argued about things and you've really had a hard time separating those experiences and caring about them, I call this skill the 2-step. And it's number one, if you have something difficult you're going to talk about, number one, the first step is first communicate clearly your love for each other and your appreciation for the relationship. So you're just going to say, you matter to me. Our marriage matters to me. You're such a great spouse, right? Like whatever appreciation, whatever love. Okay. And then the second part is what I would call couple compassion, which is just whatever I'm about to talk about. I just want to give some compassion that this is hard. Like, it's hard to be left without that one car. It's hard to make big decisions, right? It's hard that this makes us both grumpy, right? Whatever it is. But if you can do the 2-step, which makes it just what you were talking about, of making that a safer space to be able to talk about the difficult thing. And then, okay, now let's bring up the subject. And you can say that very clearly. Hey, I'm going to bring up the 2-step because what I'm about to talk about, I don't want it to go off in the wrong direction, right? And so if you could learn how to do a 2-step first, and then you're still going to have to watch the conversation, especially if whatever your past situation has looked like. But I think that's helpful.
Oh, so helpful. And I appreciate that you're saying that we have patterns of communicating as couples that are really not helpful and that we've been doing for a really long time, right? The issue isn't the car. The issue is kind of the cycle that we keep finding ourselves in and the way we keep showing up with each other. But that idea that, okay, I love you first and foremost. And then second, I'm having compassion around this. This is a hard situation. And I realize that. To me, what I think of is, then defenses aren't super heightened right out of the gates. That all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, there's safety. My partner cares and loves me. I don't have to put that in question, right? Even though it probably never was in question, but sometimes in our own heart of hearts, it feels like it's in question. And so it feels scary.
Yes. So we want to bring that sense of belonging. I belong to you. You belong to me. This is not the problem is not with us. It's really the car. Right. And it's really our anxiety. It's really whatever it is. But yes. So
good. I love that. One of the things that I think is so important, and you mentioned it, was self-soothing. So when I feel activated or I'm not in a good space, something is said or I'm triggered, what do you suggest you do? Do you keep kind of barreling through, or do you take a break? Do you tell your partner? What do you do?
Well, I think just like what we talked about, when you get married, you're not used to a two-person system. And the people who get used to it quicker in a healthy way, what are they doing? They're self-soothing the whole time. They are slowing down. They're not judging themselves for feeling something, but they may not say what they feel. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So they're just saying, okay, right? And then they're slowing it down with curiosity, being more careful in these situations, whether impact therapy, we call it the big five. Now I just have to remember them. It's sex, finances, kids, mess, and time. Like,
so these are the big five we fight about. Is that what you're saying? Every
five
couple. Mm-hmm.
that every couple has to deal with.
Will you say those one more time?
Oh, sure. Sex, mess, parenting, time. Oh, finances.
Finances. What's mess?
Oh, the mess in the house, the chores, all that stuff. Okay. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Okay.
I could have said chores, right? But those are the big five. And you never want those big five to come in and pop the couple bubble. Everyone's got them. So everyone is part of a process, which is, it's not supposed to be just magic, but we can do it. We learn not to use those five things, and everyone has a different experience. So if I was talking about the chores, it would be a different experience for my spouse than for me. Right. And all of those, we would each have a different experience around that. And so self-soothing around, hey, the other thing, another little skill, you could try and run a movie for yourself. How is this experience for me? Because I really want you to give compassion and self-soothing for whatever it is for yourself. Because the more you do that for yourself, the more able you are actually to do that for your partner, right? So to take a minute and run that movie again, exactly from your perspective, but then be curious and try and run that movie in your head exactly for your partner. So that might help you if you try and step in and say, oh, you taught me that one, Lindsay. Remember
really?
That question? You were telling me this. It was like, what is it like for you? You talk about that. That was so good.
You know what? That is one of probably the best things that I ever learned in couples therapy. And now that I personally share with couples is to do a check-in. And we talk, and really it's this question. It's super simple, but it's what's it like for you? And honestly, my husband and I know that when we are out on a walk, and I will say, what's it like for you? Or he'll do the same for me. It's an opportunity for us to share what's going on in our emotional world. It's not to say, oh, I'm, like reel off the day's events or the to-do list, but it's really what's going on for you from an emotional perspective. And the interesting thing is the job of the listener is one, to just validate, to just say, oh, tell me more. Tell me more. That has to be hard. Or, oh, I'm so happy for you. That's amazing. But it's not to try to get ammunition or to solve or to fix. It's really just to try to have an understanding and an opening to your partner's emotional world. And I will tell you, I have used it in my own life for probably the past 10 years. And it is probably the single most effective tool for me personally to know, okay, this is where he's at. I know where Kevin's at. This is what's going on for him. And when I am able to do it as well, I feel seen and understood. And it's in an environment that's not, charged. We're doing it when we're just engaging in conversation, we're talking, but it's more than just kind of what's going on with the kids, what's going on with work, what's, kind of going through the list. It's really helped me to understand what's going on in your emotional world. And it is extremely connecting.
Yes. And just think about that. You just said the key. It must be practiced outside of charged events so that you actually have the trust needed so that it's already there when you have charged events.
Exactly. Right. It's like we're getting that couple bubble. We're getting that bubble thicker and thicker, right? So then when there is a charge event, it's not like it can just be easily popped by any thing that's said or any misstep that either one of us make. Exactly. Right? Yeah, I love that idea. So, one part of this question I think is really important is how does Emily in this question balance validating his experience while still being true to her own experience? I think sometimes we think it's either their experience or my experience. It's not and, right? It's either you're right and I'm wrong, or vice versa. And I really think that's an important piece that we need to consider. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I'm thinking of a cute, influential couple where I live, and he's a full-on Republican and she's a full-on Democrat. Right. And they go to their caucus meetings and they don't treat that like, I'm just not going to listen to you and you're not going to listen to me. They have conversations that look like, tell me why you are a Democrat, what issues are big for you, why, and the same thing. And you really, as a couple who's not worthy, able to self-validate. In other words, you're worthy right on your own. You don't have to do anything to earn that, right? You should be able to see why the person is Democrat or why the person is Republican and why that makes sense, because there's not wrongs or right. And I say this all the time with couples. It's not a wrong and a right. There's two rights. You're just prioritizing something different than they are. And you should be able to totally see, I can see what they are prioritizing and why that makes sense for them without you having to give up whatever you're prioritizing. There's very few things that then we actually have to negotiate with after. But if we do, it won't be 100% your way, 100% my way. It might be like Brene Brown uses this. I'm at a 10 on this issue. What are you? Well, I'm at a 6. And just knowing how important that is for you will be like, okay, we might prioritize her 10 more because she really feels stronger about this situation. But that better happen both ways. In other words, there better be other situations where he's a 10 and she's a 6 and we prioritize him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, she can't always be the 10 on everything, or that's not going to work.
Yes. And when that happens and it flows better, then you're able to make, maybe decisions where I remember I wanted really expensive piano lessons and I was a 10. Right. And my husband was not a 10 on those. And so we stayed with mine until we had time to get a different piano teacher that wasn't as expensive. Right. But I had to be aware of those kinds of things. And we were going to shift, like, even if I got my way sometime, like for a period of time, we weren't going to, that wasn't also a permanent way of being. Right.
Yes. So important.
Flow.
We move and it's dynamic. And yeah, that's such a good example of the piano lessons. Like, it was too expensive. So eventually that changed, right? But for you, it was a 10 but it really bothered him too. He didn't want to pay that much. So that was dynamic. It didn't just stay static in that position. So that makes a lot of sense. Well, Kim, I want to make sure we've covered things that feel important to you. Is there anything that we've left out that you feel like you really want to make sure we cover?
Let's see. Again, just that comfort and caring around the pain points is more important than the issues, because we can't really solve the issues. And it's going to be a process of learning how to do that well with each other. But that's what marriage is. It's not a weakness within whatever the couple is, right? And this is my little caveat around, if you're talking about sex specifically, that's just more complicated because sometimes before you can really talk about that well together, there has to be some education, and there definitely has to be a really safe place where that is. And so we wouldn't want to take that into a negotiation type situation before we got the proper education and safety in place.
Education and safety, key. I keep hearing that, and that the couple and the relationship is most important, period. And that we can't get caught up on whatever the issue is, whether it's piano lessons or the car or the kids, but it's that this relationship matters the most above all, and that we keep that in mind. Well, Kim, thank you so much. Mastering the art of validating feelings without agreeing is a valuable skill, and one that it's not easy. Obviously, there's a lot to it. However, I really appreciate the tools that you gave us that help us to understand that it is possible, right? Really understanding the empathy, those pain points, and maintaining safety and respect. It are so many of those key factors that will help us in doing that. Kim, really appreciate your time and your thoughts and your insights. If you like the podcast, please share it with your friends, rate and review, and we'll see you next time.